Hey guys, this is BunnyMuffins. Welcome to the patch 10.1 rundown. We got a big patch here, so I'm just going to dive right into it and skip a few intros. We got two new champions here with the trait Lunar, and every 7 seconds your team gains 15% crit strike and damage, and also 10% spell power. And this stacks 4 times, so you could cap out at 60% crit chance and crit damage and 40% spell power. Nothing to scoff at here. It's going to make defensive teams a little better, so expect things like Wardens to be a little bit stronger, same with Crystal, and maybe even Steel. The first champion is Leona. She is a tier 1 Warden, and her ability is that she reduces all damage done to her by a flat amount for 5 seconds. I think this is really strong, especially in the early game, because champions don't really do more than 40 damage in the early game. So she's probably going to be very high tier in the early game, and maybe fall off a little bit towards the later game. But since she's Lunar, you might want to keep her on your team. Karma, tier 3, she's a mystic as well, and her ability is at the start of combat, Karma tethers to her closest ally and shields the tether ally for 5 seconds. So she's pretty much a support champion. I think this is really cool. I already talked about this before, so I won't delve too deep into this, but that ally gets increased bonus attack speed and a shield, which is probably going to be good with things like Master Yi, probably mostly frontline carries, and you could put it on backline carries if you're facing assassins. What's good about this is that you could change who she targets every turn. So we got a bunch of new little legends. These look kind of cool. I kind of like the third set the most, but we'll see what their animations are. I'll skip over this for now since it's not really important for the game, but it's fun cosmetic stuff. So onto the items, we have the new item Last Whisper. This is going to replace Repeating Crossbow. A lot of people hated this item, but I kind of liked it. This is made from Sparring Gloves and Recurve Bow, and critical hits reduce the target's armor by 90% for 3 seconds, and this effect does not stack. Really good item to add to the game because it's one of those anti-tank items, and since Wardens are so prevalent, it's like a direct counter to that. So I think this item's going to be pretty good, especially against Wardens, and it probably gets better the later the game goes. Titan's Resolve. This one's replacing Phantom Dancer, so that's with Chain Vest and Recurve Bow. When the wearer is hit or inflicts a critical strike, they gain a 2% stacking damage bonus up to 100%. At 50 stacks, the wearer gains 25 armor and magic resist and increases in size, resets every round. I don't think people are actually going to reach 50 stacks that often. I guess if you have like someone with Warmogs, like a Braum, he might get that high, but I don't know why you want a damage bonus on Braum. Maybe someone like a Mumu might benefit from this. Not really too sure, but it's a pretty decent item. Maybe for Berserk. Oh, Olaf, this is going to be really good on. Okay, yeah, that's who you'll build it on because he's both tanky and he does a lot of damage. Bramble Vests. This one's a little new as well. This one's replacing Thornmail and negates bonus damage from incoming critical hits, so they still kept part of the Phantom Dancer passive on a different item. And on being hit by a basic attack, deal a flat amount of damage to nearby enemies once every second. That seems really good because you put it on someone who doesn't have... Remember how I said this Titan's Resolve might not be good on Braum with Warmogs? Bramble Vest would probably be pretty good on Braum with Warmogs because he just won't die ever, and he'll deal like 80 damage every second or 120 damage every second. And if you compare this to Luden's Echo, this procs every second, whereas Luden's Echoes takes like maybe 3 seconds to 4 seconds depending on the champion to proc. So I think this is going to be pretty strong. Frozen Heart mini rework. Before it slowed enemies by 25%, and now it's going to do it by 40%, so that's a pretty big buff. Stacking it increases the radius of the effect, not the amount of the slow. So they want to avoid Frozen Heart stacking, but Frozen Heart stacking is still going to be very good, especially on maybe Kiana, because she kind of jumps around the map a bunch. So I'm pretty excited for this item. Maybe Yasuo is good with this as well. And also 40% on one Frozen Heart is pretty strong, so I'll probably be looking to build that if I need the AoE slow. Iceborne Gauntlet's getting changed. Before it was creating a slow zone of ice. Now it's going to change to something more similar to what it is in League of Legends. After casting a spell, the wearer's next basic attack freezes a target for 1.5 seconds. So at first I thought this item would be terrible, but on Ezreal, it's probably going to be very good because he casts a spell so often and he's glacial, so he's just going to perma-freeze someone, similar to like how Ashe did last patch or last set. But apart from Ezreal, I can't really think of too many other people who would be like really, really good with it. Ionic Spark, before it dealt 90 true damage to an enemy when they cast a spell. Now it does enemies within 3 hexes that cast a spell or zap, taking damage equal to 200% of their maximum mana. So notice how it goes from true damage to magic damage. I don't think 3 hexes is that big since the map got a lot bigger. But maybe if you put it in the center, it'll hit enough targets. But you really want to hit their backliners with this. Anything with flat damage, you want to hit backliners with. And 200% of max mana doesn't really equate to that much, in my opinion. So I think this is worse than it was before. But it might still have its uses. We'll have to see it in play because we haven't seen an item quite like this before. Quicksilver got a huge buff. You're just immune to crowd control. So I thought this wasn't going to be that good, but thinking again, it's going to be pretty strong on someone like Master Yi or maybe like Nocturne, because your 1 carry with Quicksilver and 2 damage items just is going to get off every single time, and there's not much to stop him except for like killing him really quickly, which is also hard to do if they're someone's main carry. So probably someone will like put a Karma next to someone with Quicksilver, they'll be pretty strong, I'm guessing. Locket of the Iron Solari, it's being changed to scale now, and it actually got nerfed because now it only gets a 300 shield at 3 stars, so pretty weak early. This is an early game item still because this scaling 25 health doesn't really matter that much. 25 times 5 is 125 damage negated every level, so every time you level up you shield for 125 more, which doesn't really do too much, so the scaling doesn't really matter. So this is just a flat out nerf. Luden's Echo is also scaling now, and this one actually got scaled in a good way, I think, so it's not completely broken early and it still has some usefulness later in the game. So I think Luden's is pretty good, but Locket just got flat out nerfed. Static Shiv, this one I'm really excited about because it got a huge buff. This could be really interesting when you play Poison because now you can hit a lot more enemies, such as with your 3-star Kog'Maw. So I'd look out for that. Overall, this is a buff because most things are 2-star, and 4 times 80 is higher than 3 times 100. Next we have Hush. Hush's proc chance changed from 25% to 20%, so it got nerfed, which is fine. Hush is pretty unfun to play against. So what they did take out, they said they were going to nerf Disarm, but I guess they didn't do that. And Hush has always been better than Disarm, so I agree with that. Morello, Namicon, and Red Buff got slightly nerfed. That's fine. These items are always OP. They need to do some major changes to make them not OP. Maybe they could put like burn effects on champions. That'd be like on champion abilities more. Maybe that would nerf it a little bit. Traits. Okay, Druid's got a slight buff. Light got a big buff at 6 light and 9 lights. 9 lights could be very interesting. You obviously need Lux to do it because the other champions just are kind of lackluster. That's why Light isn't really played that much because most of the champions suck. So 6 lights I don't think is going to be that great, but maybe at 9 just throw in Lux and hopefully have her go crazy. So Ocean mana regen got nerfed at 2 Ocean, so that's fine. That shouldn't really change too much. Shadow bonus buff slightly. I like this change because Shadow felt a little weak. It was played once Lucian and Senna were released, but after that, like, people kind of ignored them, so they definitely needed a little bit more of something. Now onto champion balances. Vayne got buffed, and both health and damage wise, so they're buffing lights. That's just what this is. Warwick buffed as well, and his ability damage is buffed. Warwick's kind of he's a really weird champion. I don't know, but these 2 changes are fine. No one really played both of these. I guess people played Vayne for Rangers as like a placeholder, but now she has some place in lights. Jax got buffed as well. Okay, so they're buffing a lot of light champions, which is fine. Most of them, again, were weak, so buffing them is perfectly fine. Malzahar got buffed as well. I thought Malzahar was always really good, so I'm not really sure why they're doing this, because when Summoner's played, he's usually the one that you want to go for, because at tier 2 he's just really strong of a champion. Nico got buffed as well. Not too sure why they did that, because Woodland Druids are kind of pretty annoying, so I don't think they needed any type of buff. Next up, we have Senna Buffs, Skarner buff, Syndra buff, and Varus buffs. So Varus buff doesn't really matter because that's just a 3-star. Not really often that you get him there. Syndra's interesting because they nerfed Ocean, but then they buffed Syndra. I always thought Syndra was pretty good, but you could probably put Ludens on her and she's going to be pretty strong now. Skarner and Senna, those are kind of inconsequential changes. Next up is tier 3. We have Aatrox buff. So again, every light champion's being buffed. This one's not too high. Maybe at tier 3, 200 damage might equate to a lot, but that's fine. Light's really weak, so perfectly okay to buff them. Azir got buffed. That's a little strange because Azir's really, really strong. I see him being played all the time just because he has really good synergies because he's Summoner and Desert, so he complements all the Nocturne comps a lot. So Nocturne got nerfed slightly. This shouldn't really change much though. Kiana nerfs, that might affect like Nocturne comps more than Nocturne's nerf, because Kiana's pretty much key in a lot of compositions. So this is going to change up the metagame probably quite a bit. Her damage also got nerfed at 3-star as well. That one doesn't really matter too much. It's mainly the stun duration. And then lastly, Sivir's ability duration is now 5 seconds. Yeah, I guess that's fair because with red buff, she's kind of annoying, or just on hits in general. Next up, we have tier 4. Annie's Tibber damage is now reduced at early levels, but increased at tier 2 and tier 3. Wow, I didn't realize she had that much attack damage at tier 3. That's actually kind of scary. I guess people should go for tier 3 Annie more often. But I don't really know why they nerfed her early but buffed her in at 2-star. I didn't really think she's a little strong, so I don't know why they make her stronger in the late game. I think they should just nerf the early game, or maybe keep the early game the same and then nerf tier 2 by a little bit as well. Twitch's attack damage ratio got increased. This is fine. Twitch is really weak. He's just in a really weird spot because he's like kind of a hyper carry, but like you put a lot of on hits on him. Whereas I think they originally intended for him to be like you stack infinity edges on him or something like that, and then he just wipes the whole map. But he didn't really turn out that way. He's more of like an on hit person, but this should help his like damage build a little bit. Now we move on to tier 5. This is the last one. Amumu's stun durations changed. I like this change because now it makes it more important to get to 2-star Amumu. They also reduced his ability damage quite a bit, 30% at level 1 and 20% at level 2. That's pretty consequential because Amumu was played a lot, but that's mainly because his synergies are really strong. He's Inferno Warden. Everyone's playing Wardens, so any late game upgrade to Wardens is going to be pretty huge for anyone. So that's why he's being played too much. So the nerfs are completely understandable. I don't think he himself is OP, but his classes are. Okay, they nerfed his mana as well. Yeah, this shouldn't really change too much actually, since after his first ultimate, the game should be decided whether it CCs the other team enough to win the game for you or not, and then he's probably not going to get a second ultimate off because he's going to die. Master Yi bonus damage ability change. So he gets... Okay, so Master Yi just got flat up buffed. So it's going to be interesting because, again, they added Karma to the game, and Master Yi is probably really good with Lunar because he meditates, so he's going to live a long time. So I'd be really interested in seeing a Lunar Master Yi Warden comp, perhaps. Maybe not Wardens. I can't really think of the tanks in that composition yet, but I'll look into it later. Now for the last change, Nami ability damage. She goes from 150 to 100 and then 250 to 200, so the same nerfs as Amumu. And this is probably... She's always been like very similar to Amumu. She's like an actually useful legendary, unlike some of the ones from the previous set. So props to Riot because most of the legendaries are fun to play and useful to play. Whereas a lot of the legendaries in the last set were highly situational. So it is good that they are nerfing them because like they're just too big of upgrades if you get them to level 2. So I'm glad they did that. Let's look at the bugs. Untargetable units can no longer be impacted by crowd control, and they fixed a bug with Annie where she started gaining mana after summoning 2 Tibbers and having one of them die. Okay, yeah, those are good changes as well. Overall, I'm really excited for the Lunar champions. Again, I think something with Karma Master Yi is going to be really interesting. Just because he's always been the typical melee hyper carry, and Karma just gives him a big shield, and he's also going to heal a bunch, and Lunar's going to increase all the damage that he's going to do. So really looking forward to that. Not really too sure what's going to be the strongest since there's so many changes, including all the items. But I am interested in trying out something with Master Yi. But that's all for today. I'll come out with a composition guide this Friday as usual. I'll probably look at the top comps in maybe every region or just focus on one. I haven't decided yet, but I'm also going to be doing a unranked to challenger stream on twitch.tv/BunnyMuffins LOL. So give me a follow there. I'll be starting sometime in the afternoon Eastern time on Friday. Hope to see you there. As usual, hit the like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys on Friday.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.